Good day to you, and welcome to the 24th episode of Pony 411, where Nemesis collects all your tears about Twilight alicorn. I'm 4-string. I'm back with you after a week, I think, of not being here, because I was off tending to other things, and it was fun. And I missed all of you, though, and by all of you, I don't mean the listeners. I hate all of you, but I love the people who I record with. Like, who's here? Nemesis is here, right?
My vial of tears is half full.
We need to keep going and collect more tears. Lord Funky Fist.
Yeah, I'm here.
And Art Fan.
Hello, yes, I am still here.
And we would have had Fusion Fox, but he fell asleep.
Again.
Because he's like in some weird time zone or something. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, whatever.
So, we actually have quite a bit to discuss this week. It being the, I don't know what day of the week it is. It's the 28th of January today as we're recording. And just had a new episode come out this weekend. This past weekend, that is. And the episode was called something.
It's just for sidekicks.
Just for sidekicks. That's what it was.
Yeah,
For some reason,
that's not a sign as to how uneventful the episode was this week.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Something happened.
Something happened just for sidekicks, where things happened, and we all moved on with our lives. Yeah, we'll talk about Just for Sidekicks, as well as the recently released Bronies documentary. There's actually been quite a few Brony documentaries, but this is the big one, so far at least, the one that we've been talking about for months, that was funded by many of you out there, perhaps. And we even had the director on for an interview, and we're finally going to talk about it, because all of us watched it, or most of us watched it, and we're going to talk about what we think of it. And it's definitely been a topic of discussion between pretty much the whole community this week. So I'm sure many of you out there also have an opinion, so feel free to let loose in the comments section when we're done here. But to start off, as we always do, we got some quick hits. I'm going to run down through those really quick. A couple things about some conventions and upcoming episodes and the likes. So here we go. Fiesta Equestria, which is based out in Texas, it's announced Peter New and Michael Dangerfield this week as guests, as well as a plethora of fandom guests, including Mike the Microphone, Odyssey Eurobeat, and many, many more. Hit up fiestaequestria.com for a so far announced guest list. An extended synopsis for the upcoming episode Games Ponies Play has been released, and this is a spoiler for those of you who don't want to know what the episode's about. Skip ahead about 15 seconds or so. In the hopes of proving that the Crystal Empire is more than worthy of being selected as the next venue for the upcoming Equestria Games, Princess Cadence commissions Twilight to work her magic with the deciding games inspector. And that episode's going to premiere February 9th. In other words, it's the next episode. Well, yes, it's the next episode. Because we don't have one coming up this week. So, have fun with your pony week off, I suppose.
How will we survive?
How will we survive? I don't know. How will we survive also without the 4th issue of the My Little Pony IDW comic? I don't know, because it's going to be a while before it's released, another month or so. But preview pages of the to-be-released issue have just been made available on iTunes. Click the link in the description to check them out. So yeah, check those out. It's pretty interesting, actually, because the preview pages have already been released, even though the 3rd issue still isn't out. But that should be coming out here very shortly, I believe.
Next week.
Well, that's good.
Yes. Yep. Michael Brockhoff, producer of the Bronies documentary, recently did an AMA on Reddit. That's an Ask Me Anything for those of you who don't go to Reddit. To check out his responses to questions fielded at him by the Reddit community, click the link in the description, which is actually a transcript provided by Derpy Hooves News, which they very graciously went through and basically took all the questions and answers and just put them into an easy-to-read document so you don't have to wade through all the other stuff. Because if you've been on Reddit before, sometimes it's very tough to wade through all the threads. So big ups to Derpy Hooves News for that. PonyCon AU has officially opened its doors. The Australia convention has begun registration with an early bird discount running until February 1st. The con will be held April 6th through 7th, aka on my birthday. So I should go to PonyCon AU.
Good luck with that.
Travel all... I'm going to swim there. That's what I'm going to do.
And they get killed by a spider.
Most likely. Or a kangaroo. I don't know.
And then get eaten by a koala.
It's just going to be a bad day. It's the worst birthday ever. Now, the
It doesn't even invite you. The spider just lands on you and you just die.
Pretty horrible. At least I die quickly. Yeah.
That's just how poisonous it is.
The birthday was a smashing success. Am I right? Now, the so-called April DVD finally has a name, or at least a title, on its UPC pages on various retailers' websites. On the DVD Planet, DVD Pacific, and Kmart websites, the title of the DVD, which is set for an April 30th release, is Twilight Sparkle Princess. So
You can't get much more generic than that.
Nemesis has his tier jar ready. You can donate at will.
Donate willingly or unwillingly in this case.
Yeah, either way, he's gonna get them.
I don't...
Japanese fans of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic finally have an official Japanese dub coming to them, as well as the G4 line of pony toys. The dub is scheduled to be airing in April. So, yay for that. A new con was announced this week, Appaloosa Con. It's based in Phoenix, Arizona, and it will occur April 29th, April 19th through 21st. So, if you didn't need any more cons, well, too bad. Here's another one.
God.
Go to all the April cons.
But there's a lot of April cons. Yeah, it's crazy. But really, best of luck to them. There's not one in Phoenix or Arizona at all yet. So, I mean, I guess it's good that they're going to a state that doesn't have one.
Come down to Texas and we'll go to the one there, the Fiesta one.
There's like 4 of them in Texas, dude.
Wow. I should go to them.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, I guess it's a big state, but still. Anywho, speaking of cons, and speaking of the cons actually nearby to the recently announced Appaloosa Con, next month's Las Pegasus Unicon announced even more guests to its growing roster this week. Tabitha St. Germain, Michelle Krieber, Britt and Carly McKillop, Kathy Westluck, and Andrea Lindman will also be in attendance. I'm pretty sure they just have every person ever on the show ever at their convention now. So
Do they have Tori Spelling is the real question.
she didn't work on the show, regrettably.
cares?
Just yet, though. Just yet. Just you wait.
And that's the
Just-
one.
Tori Spelling will voice Alicorn Twilight.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's right. Her new role as a princess gives her a new voice and everything.
Her
the royal voice.
The
You're a
tears
dead man.
from Nemesis will now be collected into his
Oh, I
journal.
don't cry.
Yet.
I was gonna say if that happened, I think Nemesis would be the one crying.
And finally, a leak of the February Toy World magazine revealed a new Castle playset for 2013, which appears to include a winged, slightly altered, as in slightly taller, Twilight Sparkle toy. Coupled with the Princess Coronation episode upcoming, it appears the reveal of Twilight's destiny is quite close.
Yes.
Wink, wink.
Maybe after
And before
Destiny,
you-
she's just gonna get her own playset.
Yeah, and a lot of
She
people
gets her own
claiming,
castle.
Oh, it's weird. How many people have been claiming that is Cadence when it's clearly not? You do color comparisons and everything. It matches the current set of Twilight toys.
No,
And,
it's Princess Skyla. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, that's right. There's
And
Skylar, I
the
forget.
crown she's wearing, it looks a lot like the pre-existing tiara for the toys and the one in the show. And it's just a final little nail. In the playset itself, there's Twilight's cutie mark is on the wall.
So bam.
Maybe Twilight died, though, and then they just built that castle to honor her.
And
With the
that's
king.
like
I
a
don't
like a
think
statue
so.
of her.
But that's actually Tori Sparkle,
No.
her evil twin sister.
No.
Her Twilight's other sibling that she never mentioned.
That never happens. What are you talking about? Anywho, so those are the quick hits for the week, and I hope you enjoyed them and are more in tune with the news than you were before, because it's not like you read those on any other news site or anything like that. So
Yeah, there's
get
not a
into
lot
our
of big news sites when it comes to ponies.
there's like zero, I think. I don't know,
Maybe
someone
like
should start one.
two.
Just like there's zero podcasts except for us, right? I mean, we're like the only
course.
one. Seriously. So anyway, I guess we'll get into our discussions for the week. To start off, we'll do a quick discussion of the new episode just for Sidekicks. And I say quick because not much really happened. It was a Spike episode, so I hear the groans already from many of you. But
But Spike is best pony.
Spike's Rainbow Dash. But
Damn it, guys.
With that joke again.
It looks like somebody spiked the show
No!
again.
At least he didn't start off with I guess. I didn't even know it was coming this time. It's weird.
I told you I was going to work on it.
He did. He already corrected it. Good for him.
Nemesis
This
knows
episode
too late.
basically revolved around Spike likes jewels. You didn't know that?
Yeah,
Weird.
Like them
Dragon
gems.
likes
It's
jewels
not
and
like
stuff.
it's mentioned like every time he's on screen. It seems like, but
Every other
and
line
he's
is just,
trying
"I
to
like
make
gems,
he's
by
trying
the
to make
way."
a jewel cake with all the jewels and gems and stuff in it, but he keeps eating them before they hit the cake batter because he's a silly baby dragon. So she's like, oh man, or he's like, oh man, I gotta find some more jewels, and turns out he's able to get jewels
By being an asshole.
his. I don't know about that, but he was able to get jewels from the main six by basically offering to watch their pets while the main six go off to
Do much more
basically
important things than
do more
watching
important
Spike
things
take care
like
of them.
set up the next episode.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't want any spoilers on that, whatever, won't go too far into that. But they're basically setting up for the next episode, so they're off in Crystal Empire while Spike's like, yeah, I'm gonna watch your pets, and it's gonna be a good time. And of course, all he's really worried about is making this cake with all these jewels he has. And hilarity ensues because, of course, the pets don't really listen to him very well, especially Angel. Because Angel doesn't listen to anyone.
Everyone's favorite character
but-
in the show, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Angel's had 2 straight weeks of just like, yeah. But so basically, it's pretty much Spike learning that he needs to actually take care of the pets, and he wasn't, and all that sort of thing. And he has to keep giving the gems away to people so that they'll keep quiet about certain things, like Granny Smith, or he gave a gem to the Cutie Mark Crusaders to help watch them, and all kinds of fun things with that. But in the end, Angel ends up hopping a train to Crystal Empire, and Spike and the rest of the pets all go after him, and I guess Spike ends up admitting that he was bad at it, and Angel the rest of the pets all forgive him, and everything's all cutesy and stuff, and they all meet the ponies when they come off the train, and everything's wonderful and gem cake, and then he eats his other jewel, and then no, he screams no or something. Yeah, I forget what he
Like
screams,
that.
like no or something.
No!
No, he's like no. That was the most unenthusiastic recap you'll ever
Harvey.
get.
No.
Harvey, no. Anywho, so that was the episode. If it sounded really boring when I said it, it's because it kind of was. At least that's my opinion, and we'll see what other people think in this podcast, at least. Starting off with Nemesis, what did you think of Just for Sidekicks? Did it live up to any expectations you might have actually had?
Well, it was better than Spike at Your Service, that's for sure.
Oh, well.
But yeah, it was definitely on the lower scale, but I don't think it was absolutely boring per se. There was definitely some good moments in it, but otherwise, yeah, it was the Spike episode, so it wasn't really that interesting. except for I wouldn't think it was that boring.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was still entertained.
Funky, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of the same way. I liked it, but it wasn't boring or anything. Like I think, but though like the only thing that made uh the only thing that I really liked from the Spike at Your Service one was that whole Timberwolf part when they were putting up that mock Timberwolf attack, and I laughed a lot at that. But so that's what made it good. Like somewhat entertaining, and this one's like I guess just seeing uh more of the interaction with the pets and everything. That's what I guess kind of made it good as well, and because as much as I don't really like Rainbow Dash, it was kind of fun to see her interact with Tank, and I guess seeing more of them because we barely saw any when made the best pet win. I think that's what it was called, right?
Yes.
When he appeared, but yeah, it's like seeing more of them too was kind of neat, and mainly just more of everyone else, because especially Aloysius, because I noticed that he was more expressive in this episode rather than like him being kind of a flat character before, when he didn't really seem to do much other than just hoot and kind of turn his head and fly around, but Nero, he was actually kind of being more expressive with his face and everything, and so I thought that was kind of neat. And but yeah, overall, like, I thought it was pretty good, and especially with, like, I guess what kind of helped was like, with the Cutie Mark Crusaders coming out, so it wasn't just solely just uh, Spike and all their pets, and then we do get some of everyone else, especially that scene with when Spike goes to convince Pinky to watch Gummy. Like, I like that scene too, with her interacting with Gummy and everything, and I thought. So there was lots of little things in here that I liked, but overall, I guess the episode was just just a decent one.
I noticed a lot of the scenes you like don't involve Spike necessarily.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The one thing that I was gonna say was that I guess this episode does kind of contradict the Spike at Your Service episode, because we see him baking a cake and he seems pretty efficient at it.
Yep.
Like he's not screwing it up, or he's not.
That's a Meriwether Williams for you.
Yeah. So, and also I'm also kind of surprised that the Cutie Mark Crusaders were able to get all that stuff from just like that tiny ruby that Spike gives them.
Yeah. Which
It's
is kind of funny considering a lot of people, oh, look at Rarity, she's giving him this tiny little gem, and that's not very generous, and look how much it gets. It's like, okay, not generous at all.
Yeah, geez, like, I wonder how much she, that jewel that Fluttershy gave him was worth.
Oh God.
He probably could have bought Canterlot with that. I don't know how the equestrian economy works.
Yeah, maybe smaller is better. Art fan, what do you think of this? This just for sidekicks.
I just found it really bland and just. Oh, sorry, that's my Gordon Ramsay impression. Anyway,
that was really bad.
Yeah.
It's raw.
It's raw. Oh man. Yeah, it was. Well, bland is a good word for it because nothing happened. I mean, it just was uninteresting. I just could not. Truth be told, I didn't even finish the last 5 minutes because I was just like, whatever, this is not going anywhere for me, so I just kind of gave up on it.
You can pretty much guess what's going to happen in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, this is, I see where this train's going, quite literally and figuratively, and yeah, I'm just going to get off right here, so.
So many train things. Anyway, well, obviously, like I said, I didn't really think it was that interesting. A little on the boring side for me. It really didn't grab. It probably grabbed my attention the least of any episode this season. But there were still a lot of really interesting moments. And on a second look back, there were a lot of really cool things happening in the background that I really enjoyed. A lot of continuity stuff, especially like for instance, when they're at the train station, you see. Carrot and I believe he's being called Elder Scrolls right now at the train station.
I don't think it's Elder Scrolls, it's something else.
I've heard Elder Scrolls, but I mean, I have no idea what the
I know
actual.
the one I've heard is not. It's not Elder. It says Scrolls somewhere, but it's definitely not Elder Scrolls. That's a game.
Yeah, I think I just know I did some people on this forum that were calling him that, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past the fans to call him someone like that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. I thought the same thing. I was like, that's a game. Whatever. But anyway, those two are seen, meeting back up at the train station, like kind of nuzzling, whatever. That's kind of a throwback to last roundup when they were actually departing at the train station. One of them was leaving. I guess Carrot was leaving. So that was kind of a cool little throwback to that, as well as in Crystal Empire, I believe it was, or not Crystal Empire, wherever Screwloose is now living.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was just Ponyville.
Yeah.
When the nurse is standing out front and Winona runs by barking, and then the nurse looks back at Screwloose. I thought that was a really funny little touch there. And then beyond that, I mean, I really enjoyed seeing some of the interactions with the pets because I didn't feel like we get too much of the pets sometimes. And I always really enjoyed when Spike was like, Angel, and it was like the red background. That
reminded me of Janitor and JD from Scrubs.
yes, absolutely. So that made me laugh every time for sure.
I found it kind of odd that Spike was getting hurt when Opal scratched him. When the first season we see Spike having needles sticking in him, but he doesn't feel it. I don't know.
Cats
Yeah,
find a way to hurt
continuity
you.
error. This show's not good.
Cats will always find a way to hurt you.
Yes.
Always.
My favorite part of the whole episode though was when they buy the pet drying machine and Winona's just out there just like the happiest thing you'll ever
dog
see.
ever, which is pretty much every dog nearly.
Yes, but Winona was extra special happy, just like God, that was pretty great. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, like I said, I mean, there were some really interesting little references, like what I just went over. But all in all, the episode, I never feel like Spike really learns much. So I feel like he's just gonna go back and do the exact same thing, maybe similar to that, later on.
Crusaders in that way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Things never learning from it.
Pretty much. So I'm just like, whatever. Wasn't really much character building, and I feel a lot of people pointed out that this was definitely kind of a setup to the next episode. And I tend to agree there. It wasn't really filler, but it was there was kind of that underlying thing going on underneath there. This is what's coming up next. And this was just kind of like a excuse for Spike to play with the pets, or they to play with them.
I think this is the first time we're going to see two different episodes take place concurrently.
Yeah, which is really interesting. But yeah, that's a very good point. I don't think that's ever happened. So that's pretty cool. Before we move on, I just want to get, so we don't leave this without really discussing it too much, I just want to get your guys' opinions of all the pet combinations now that we've seen, them in action even more. Who's the cutest? Art, go.
Oh, God. What? What's the name of the... What's the name of the alligator?
No stone unturned.
What's the name of the alligator?
Gummy.
Yeah, I kind of dug that one.
I guess.
All right, Funky, what about you?
I don't know. I guess I kind of Tank more just because we never saw enough of him, and now that we saw a little bit more of him, then I actually liked him more. So I think I would probably go with him.
Okay. Nemesis, go.
Winona and Aloysius.
Yeah, I would have to go with oh God,
what have you done?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to choose actually because I love Winona because she's just always happy. Aloysius, whenever Aloysius does the head turn thing, it always just cracks me up. And I really enjoyed Tank and Rainbow Dash's relationship where they're just especially that cute little thing where they nuzzle each other and look away they might see that that's oh my God, that was so cute. So I have to go with those. That. Yeah.
Angel's just a jerk.
And Angel's
Nobody
just
likes Angel.
I don't get the Angel character. It's just so.
Oh, someone pointed this out. I just remembered something. Someone's like,
Okay.
this is totally a Buffy the Vampire reference because Spike hates Angel. It's like, oh my god!
Oh my god.
Mind equals blown.
Thank you, based god. Thank you, based god. That's really great.
Oh man. Oh, and one last thing I want to say. One thing I did like, they like the first 5 seconds of the episode, they basically explained what happened to Pee-wee. So
Oh,
if
yeah.
No one asked what the hell.
So they
Yeah.
took him back, I guess.
Yep, and that's that.
Back to his home planet to fight the bad guys. Oh, something else I forgot to mention. There's a scene. I think it's the same time you see this whole Screw Loose thing of Big Mac and Shirley walking off together.
Oh yeah.
It's like OTP,
Uh-oh.
raise the roof.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
OTP donut steal.
Donut steal. But yeah, like once again, solid episode. I think everybody tends to agree. I think I found it a little more boring than you guys did, but that's quite all right.
Our opinions don't
yeah.
matter.
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. Who cares about you? But we'll come back next week or 2 weeks from now, rather, with a look at the games ponies play. We're going to see the return of Princess Cadence, and
The Crystal Empire again,
and it's going to be a good time.
So
So
it turns out to be another Spike episode.
what? What?
I would love that if somehow they just like every single episode from here on out is just a Spike episode.
Where he learns the
It's
same
like
lesson.
it's like, oh yeah, Twilight's kind of getting like becoming a princess in the background, but it's just a little Spike episode. Spike has to learn not to eat all the jewels.
But wait, don't you see? That's the twist of the whole show. Spike is the one that becomes the alicorn.
What?
Oh,
That
God.
doesn't even make sense.
He already has horns.
It's a twist.
don't even know.
It's a twist. It's not supposed to make sense.
Yeah, he's probably gonna get wings. I don't know.
Anyway, I guess we'll get into something that's probably going to take a little more time this week, which is the discussion of the Bronies documentary. This Bronies, the extremely unexpected adult fans of My Little Pony, is what it is called in its final release state. Originally was called BronyCon the documentary, and this was released about a week ago, finally, after months and months of waiting. In fact, I mean, it was even first shown to the public at Equestria LA a while back, and at that point they filmed it and decided to go do more things to it, and then they were like, hey, it's going to release in like December, and then it didn't, and here it is finally. And most people who donated got copies. For some weird reason, I got a copy in the email. I'm like, I didn't even pay for this. This is weird. But I wasn't complaining too much. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's about an hour and a half long, and it's definitely been the focus of quite a bit of talk so far since it came out. And I feel like at first there was a lot of like people being like, oh yeah, this is really exciting. And then, you just had more and more people, I feel like, that were a little more tepid to it than I think I expected. And I don't want to go too far into that before we start talking. Or I guess we could. I guess we could just start talking now about it. And I want to get your guys' overall opinions, just to begin with. Those of you who have seen it, this is excluding Art at this
Sure.
point, but he will chime in if he can about some things. But yeah, so I just want to get your guys' like general opinions of the film to begin with, and then we'll kind of go off on tangents from there, I suppose. Starting with Nemesis, what did you think of Bronies' documentary?
Mediocrity. That it was kind of. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, because by the time I saw, I'd already seen a lot of reactions. I was like, I don't know what camp I was going to be in. I was like, this is just boring. I mean, I'm not finding it good, but I'm also not really finding it bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, it's there. I'm just kind of, it's kind of stinks. I'm like, every once in a while I'd see like, oh, this actually looks like it could be interesting. And then it's like 2 minutes later it's done. It's like, oh, well, now we're back to the boring. And I'm just like sitting here just like, how much longer is this? Oh gosh, I'm only 30 minutes in. Okay, here we go.
Oh boy.
And yeah, so and I'm just glad I got gifted a copy because I'd be kind of upset if I paid $13 for it.
Mm. Okay. Funky, what do you think?
Uh, I guess more or less the same Nemesis was saying. I just found it, uh, like, to be I couldn't even get past the hour mark. Like at the hour, I was like, this isn't going anywhere. Like this, like, cause the kind of things I hate watching are like things that are just nothing's going on. It's boring, and this was pretty much what was going on. And I'm like, it kind of does things to kind of get your attention, but it goes on too long. Like an hour and a half documentary on something like this, like it shouldn't be this long. And it felt like it could have been simplified, and it didn't feel like a documentary in the end. I mean, at the beginning, it kind of felt like a documentary, but then it just went off on too many tangents and just ended up becoming what felt like a I don't know if I should use the word, but it felt like a self celebration, more or less. Like it didn't feel like it was informing. It just felt like it was just uh, being proud of itself. The like, cause at the 20-minute mark, that's when I was getting really like angry. Cause I was like, we were doing this. We've been doing the same thing for 20 minutes of just talking to people who are bronies. Oh, like I'm a brony, and here's how it's affected my life. Go to the next person. I'm a brony, and here's how it affected my life. And it kept going for like all these different people, and I'm like, we get it. People like My Little Pony. I thought we established this within the first few minutes, where they had those headshots of all those people talking about how they got into it, like real quickly, and but instead they kind of went off on these other people and like did these sort of one-on-one interviews with them that just basically just summarize the same thing these people at the beginning talked about, but it just went on longer. I mean, granted, some of them were a bit different. Like we have one where it's like a it's like a younger kid. I don't know how old he was, but I think he was like 14 or 15. And then that couple, and then like the who was it? The Living Tombstone. That was one of them, right?
Yeah.
That they interviewed, and
Yeah.
like he was in was it Israel?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I was hoping I got the right place wrong because I didn't want to seem like an idiot with that. Uh, but yeah, like it felt like more or less like yeah. I guess I kind of get what you're saying. It's like oh, here are people from like different races and different parts of the world with different, you know, with these different things that and they're bronies, and I got what they were going, but it was basically the same story over and over again. And the only thing that kind of brought it up, I mean, changed it up, was when they talked with Tara Strong and John Delancey and Lauren Faust. Uh, because it was interesting hearing Lauren Faust talk, because we more or less learned, I guess, how the show sort of started and her background with it, and that's what I was interested in seeing, like to see if they were going to cover that. But everything just kind of mentions offhandedly, like they barely mentioned the previous generations, and they don't go too much into, I guess, how the show actually started. And it just felt like it avoided questions that would have made a good documentary, because I thought it would have been pretty interesting if they talked with like previous generation fans and asked for their opinions on the current generation friendship is magic craze that's going on. And even so much that they probably should have gone into like how the whole show even started, like the original show with the original creator, and just did all that. But instead they just focused too much on the friendship is magic, and which I understand because that's what the documentary's about. But it just feels kind of conceited when you ignore everything else and just talk about what's going on with you guys. And I don't know, it wasn't bad per se, but I guess on that level it's probably bad. But I think it's just bad just for that it's just boring. It didn't feel like anything was going on, and the only thing that livened it up a little was with the animated segments with John Delancey and with the John Delancey pony singing and everything. I thought that was pretty neat, but everything else just felt, I don't know, just nothing. It kind of felt
Mm-hmm.
like I was watching like the senior yearbook video that is supposed to summarize the senior year, but instead it becomes like a slideshow of all the popular seniors, and it ends up becoming it ends up becoming them being proud of themselves rather than like celebrating the entire year of with everyone else. So I don't know. It's what
I like that. That's good.
that's what it felt like for me. But yeah.
Yeah. To me, this is just like Bronies the hug box. I mean, it was just it was like okay, but here's my thing about this film. I can't really dislike it because they never really said that they were going to go out. I mean, they pretty much said. I mean, even in the interview we had with Laurent, he said they were going to go out and make this about Bronies and not really so much show the history or anything, just show them that they're normal people and that they're they're not that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And to that end, I guess really it did succeed in doing that. That being said, I don't think it's necessarily a documentary at that point. I think it's more of a kind of a propaganda film. It's kind of what it felt like sometimes. It felt like you're watching this because you need to be educated on Bronies and why we think we're just like you and we're not that weird or something. But like in reality, let's be real, most Bronies are kind of weird. It's like, sometimes you can't really necessarily hide things that you are, and I don't mean to say that like in a negative way. I don't think weird's necessarily bad, but I think people can just be like, yeah, maybe we are. I mean, people don't have to be normal, like, or be thought of as normal. Or it's just like like what you like, whatever. But that's a whole other story there, I guess. But this film is just so interesting to me because it still didn't do what I expected it to do. I expected when it's talking about Bronies, when it had changed its focus to Bronies in general rather than just BronyCon, I expected, okay, we're going to hear about how this fandom started. Not just how the show started, but how the fandom started. And guess what? I don't think we got that at all. I don't think was there mention of 4chan at all in this film? I don't think there was.
No.
They very briefly mentioned it.
Okay, did they?
It was like someone talking about how they first discovered My Little Pony, and they said, I saw some images on 4chan, and that was it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Well, and see, that's pretty much... I would have liked to have seen how it started. Even though I kind of already have an idea of how it started, I feel like that's something that's very important to have, is to be able to say, this is how it began, this is what's happened so far, this is where we're at now, rather than just saying, here's where we are now, here's where all these people are now. They're going to the mecca of Brony conventions, most of them. That's that, So that part to me was kind of awkward. I didn't really. I would have preferred more of a history, and more of a history of how the show got started. Even we got a little bit of it. Would have been nice to hear more, even though the majority of us already know how it started. So it's not like we really need to hear it, per se. I think one of the strong points was getting the show staff in there, though. But a lot of like the people, just normal fans, it was just like it's already been mentioned, like, oh, how this is how I got into it. I'm being ridiculed because of this, that sort of thing. It's almost just like every single person needed to be shown that I get picked on or I have trouble because I'm a brony type thing. It's like, that's the kind of thing I think that you could do with maybe one or two talking heads of the people, but like you don't have to do. But if you're doing it with every single one, it just kind of becomes this whole thing that just kind of panders to the emotional side of it, and that's not all there is to it. There's more to this fandom, a lot more than just the whole emotional part of it, like the whole side of like maybe I'm picked on, maybe I'm shunned, maybe I feel out of place, that sort of thing. Maybe I have trouble interacting with people until I go to like brony things. That's definitely a part of it for a lot of people, but like I don't think it's something that necessarily warrants an entire film, which is pretty much what it was. There wasn't really much else. So that is kind of what really got me. I feel like it was just there wasn't enough variety. It felt like it was just the same talking heads over and over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
It was just a
exactly.
different. It was just a different person, but it was still like the
It
same
was almost
general
like carbon
idea.
copies. Like three of them in particular, they're practically interchangeable. It's like your
A
stories are
lot of
so
cases.
close to each other, you might as well be the same person. It's like, why couldn't you have more variety in the kinds of fans you have like
Yeah,
on
exactly,
there?
exactly. Okay, so a question to you guys here. Do you guys think they should have done more of an because here's the thing about this film is that if you look at it as a documentary, that means you're also kind of looking at it from a journalistic sense because most documentaries are kind of journalistic endeavors in a lot of cases. And this is definitely kind of subject. This is definitely like kind of subjective journalism. This isn't really, objective, unbiased. This is very biased. This is very one way. This is they talk about Fox News going the other way. Well, this is us, or the documentary going the totally opposite way from where the Fox News went that they mentioned in the film. Do you guys think that was a good move, or would you have rather seen something that was a little more unbiased, something that showed the good and the bad, maybe all sides of the fandom, rather than just showcasing, these are bronies, hear them roar, they're not as bad as you think they are, type thing. We'll start with Funky on this one. What do you think?
I don't know. I think it would have probably benefited a little bit more if they got someone that wasn't too familiar with it, but was more or less aware of it, because the fact that the people who worked on this documentary or whatever it is that's supposed to be was like, the people who did this were the people who worked on the show. There's gonna be bias because you're basically telling them why your stuff is good, why your show is good, and why your fandom is good. And it would have been hard for them. No, I don't think it would have been hard, but you would have to, I guess, walked around eggshells very, very carefully when you get to the bad, quote unquote, like the bad parts of the fandom. Like, you probably could have just talked about, no, because obviously, like, they would want to go into like all the Rule 34 and everything, even though that's like very, very, very briefly mentioned. Uh, but but there are things that do go on in the fandom that, that do, that I guess that could have benefited some talks. One of which, the one of the most obvious ones I can think of is the whole dilemma or drama that went with Derpy with
Uh,
the last roundup.
the thing
And
about the Derpy one, I know with Derpy, they apparently there's like on the DVD, there's gonna be like a special extra got cut. It's all about the Derpy drama, so
yeah,
I'm not sure.
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah, because I think it would have made Bronies, or like the documentary, and the people that were in it seem more human if we showed the good and the bad. Like, if we showed like all the typical good Brony stuff, but then we kind of see some of the other stuff, like, like maybe like there are, I don't know, but that's the thing. I can't really think of any like bad like examples that you could use for like bad stuff. Where like, again, like, instead of just going with Rule 34, but then again, like, is that really something so horrible? Because there's Rule 34 of everything, so it's not like My Little Pony's a special case in which that's exclusive, But
Yeah, it's definitely not exclusive, but it's still something I think you could at least hit on a little more than just kind of briefly mentioning it in a song.
yeah,
I mean,
but
but you could definitely make the point though once you start talking about it that like, yeah, this is something that happens in like all internet fandoms. But anyway,
yeah, but nah. But there was one thing that I noticed right away, or noticed when it happened, but I kind of forgot about it until someone brought it up again, and that brings up the whole bias thing. Was with the second song that John Delancey is singing, and he mentions the previous generations once again, and he basically says that the Friendship is Magic characters are much more fleshed out. They're better characters than the previous ones, and from there, like, that's when I was like, that's when like that red alarm went off, and I was like, okay, come on, like, you cannot tell me with an honest, like, to goodness straight face that these are really, really, really developed deep characters compared to other cartoons. I mean, they're a little bit better, but they all do fall into basic archetypes. Twilight's the nerdy one who gets upset when things go out of place. Fluttershy's the shy one. Rainbow Dash is the tough one who's embarrassed when people see her doing things that aren't, like that aren't tough. And then you have Applejack, who's like the really hard worker and things like that. Like these ponies fall into stereotypes as well. So it felt really like biased and everything for that song to just say, "Oh, our characters are better," when Lauren Faust has basically come out and said these are inspired by other characters, and those characters are exactly the same. Like Surprise from the first generation is exactly the same thing as Pinkie Pie. So they base it off of her, and they're basically both the same. So it felt really one-sided to say that, and I don't know. It just felt, even if they were joking or not, it just felt like a bad thing to say when like your characters are just as one-dimensional sometimes as the other ones.
I have something to say about this, if that's okay. Having not seen the documentary, but just listening to what you're saying, a documentary to me, by its very nature, should be an unbiased thing. So, from everything that I've heard about this documentary, and even what you guys are saying, says it portrays the community in one light, one very specific light. And that to me is not, it bothers me that they felt the need to do that, because a documentary is supposed to be a broad reaching thing. It has to be unbiased because it has to cover a wide reach of areas. I think there might have been, in my opinion, it sounds like there might have been some underlying agenda on the part of the people that made it that maybe we're not exactly clear on, because you can't.
No, I was gonna say, like, the agenda is pretty clear. The agenda is just to say, "Oh, look how normal we are. Look how great we are." And they established that they got that mission accomplished within like the first 30 minutes, but they kept going. But like, so I'm saying, like, it's like you got what they were trying to do, because like the first 5 minutes, like, like after the interviews, they show all that footage from Fox and everyone saying, "Oh, like, what's up with Bronies?" This is a really, weird, new thing. And they have like those little, I guess, like those quick like interviews with like the people on the street asking them about Bronies, and you see some of them saying, "Oh, like, no, they look like a bunch of perverts," or like they're weird. It's like, "Oh, like they're probably like pedophiles or gay or something." So like this pretty much just felt like they're trying to just like dispel all that and trying to show that that they're not. And I'm all for that. If you want to show that you're normal, then good for you, but you don't need an hour and a half to do that.
And that's what I'm saying in a way, because I don't feel that a documentary by its nature should have an agenda like that. I feel that that's wrong, and I feel that it does, like you said, become pretty much a propaganda piece, and it's not being fair to everybody.
Oh, there are objective and subjective documentaries. Nature documentaries tend to be objective because they're just presenting facts about animals. But you always got political documentaries, which are very subjective because they always have like, we want to prove this point that we're trying to make, and that you can't really say those aren't documentaries when they are. They're just a different style. Mm-hmm. I guess I can give my opinion about it more about this stuff. I don't think this documentary could have actually been really objective. The problem is they were selling it based on it was gonna be portraying that fandom in a very positive manner, and they were selling it based on that. So if they try to turn it objective, I don't think they could have gotten the funds they did if they said, "We're gonna be very objective. We're not gonna pull any punches. We're gonna look at this stuff. I don't think they would have gotten the funding they did just by saying, "Oh, we're gonna make you guys look great to everyone else." So I think if it was an objective thing, it would have to have been privately funded and possibly not as big a scope, and they probably might have even had more difficulty because word might get around. It's like, these guys aren't messing around. They're going to try to find stuff. So,
yeah, objective documentaries kind of aren't really a thing anymore. Even objective journalism, in a way, has kind of fallen a little on the wayside. It's more just about accuracy, reporting facts and the like. But I think a lot of people, I think my main issue with it is that I think it tips too far on this on the scale toward being too much toward the Bronies, because like if they said, yeah, I mean, we're definitely going portraying this in a positive light, or trying to make you like look like, show people that you're not as weird, or whatever. And that's cool, but I think like it went a little too far. It would have been nice to every once in a while just kind of step back, or have the film as a whole kind of step back and kind of calm down a little bit. Be like, okay, just show us what's going on, without being as like, oh, bam, 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 cool things about the show, this, that, and all. It would have been nice to just take it easy a little bit, take it down a notch. If it taken down a notch or two, I think I would have like felt a little better about it. But the fact that it was just overly, like I said, just tipping the scale there, I felt like it was just a little too subjective. Like I think I don't necessarily know if I said I have a problem with it being subjective as much as it's just like
It's practically propaganda.
too much, though. Yeah, it was borderlining on more of a propaganda type piece. I think it could have been done without it being one. I think it could have been done, showing what you want to show, but still, putting together something that's pretty still level. I'm not saying level in the sense that it's like totally down the middle unbiased. I don't think that was necessarily possible here. But, not as like on the other end. But I'm kind of curious, now we've stated here that the documentarians basically said, we're wanting to go out here and we're wanting to, show the other side, the real side of Bronies or so. And I want to, because I feel like a lot of us didn't necessarily go in expecting that. So I want you guys' opinions here. Like, to that end, do you think they succeeded in making a good film? Or do you guys still think it was just like, the fact that a lot of you guys said it was just kind of boring? Was that more of its flaw? Or do you guys think that, with what it set out to do, it actually did that well? Start with Nemesis, I suppose.
Okay, so we know they set out to. It was supposed to be a positive piece about the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was technically, it was very positive, and showed a lot of good stuff, but the problem was they weren't entertaining about it. Is another thing. I mean, you gotta hold people's attention. If people are getting bored, you're not doing it right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If people get so bored they stop paying attention, you're not succeeding. So you could spread the message all you want, but no one's going to hear it because they're asleep. They did. Technically they succeeded, but like only basically they succeeded on a technicality. Is what I think they did what they set out to do, but they didn't do it very well.
Okay.
I see what you mean.
Funky, what do you think?
As a film, I don't think it really worked because, again, like, I don't care if this turned into pure propaganda and if it was just, bronies were awesome. But I would have enjoyed it if it was entertaining, because the people that they got, while they were kind of different in terms of their stories, they were more or less the same, if that even makes sense. They were different, but the same. Like, the stories were essentially the same. It all boiled down to, I wasn't a brony, my life kind of sucked, and then ponies came into my life, and now my life's kind of good. Like, they all basically revolved around that, plot point. And I wouldn't have minded, watching this if it was an hour and a half, but if that hour and a half was actually good, filled with entertaining things to keep my attention, then I wouldn't have mind watching it. But for me, to me, it just seems like, because at the beginning, I guess because I'm going off at the beginning, because at the beginning when this was all starting, they were calling it a documentary, and I was expecting to see a documentary about this, but no, towards the end, it seemed like it just, they were saying that we're just gonna make it to like a thing for bronies, and then when you do that, that means you gotta not, that means you can't do like, the unbiased thing, because you're gonna turn off your core audience that you're going for then. So like on that level, I guess it succeeded, because I'm seeing all like, it's funny because I'm seeing like the hardcore people who are really into the show, that are really into the community and everything. I see them liking I see them, those comments saying that they liked it, but yet I'm seeing the people who aren't really so much into it, who are just the casual people who just watch it and kind of interact with
AKA the
the
moderates.
the casuals or whatever, yeah, the moderates, whatever, that they're saying it was okay, or at worst, like it was horrible, and I'm just there like it was just boring, because I can certainly see why people who are really into the community would like it, because it really talks about that community and it puts them in a positive light, and they actually show some of the more famous people that are in the community, like the Living Tombstone, and they John Haseko's works appear a couple times. They even talk to him for about a minute, and I don't know if more of other Bronies, famous Bronies, came up, because again, like I stopped at the exactly at the hour mark, so I don't know what happened in the last half hour. So I don't know what other famous people they got. I know Pixel Kitties appeared briefly, but I don't know if more people came out afterwards. So I can definitely see why the fandom, like the people who are really deep in the fandom love it, because it was mostly about them, while everyone else sees this as like this isn't a documentary. It's just like pandering kind of almost, and not like borderline propaganda, as you guys were saying.
Yeah, I think I would have, I think it did okay with what it set out to do, but I think the main problem was, I think I may have already mentioned this, and if I haven't, this is, I guess I'll mention it now. I just would have liked to see more variety. I would have liked to see the fandom as a whole, just in a broader scale. I like more focus on different little aspects rather than what we got, which was definitely character pieces in a lot of cases on some of the different people who oftentimes seemed like about the same person that they followed around, and then talking to some of the show people about certain little things that we kind of already knew, and then going to BronyCon or Galacon or Buck and just kind of following people around and seeing their interactions with people and that sort of thing. I would have liked to see more, like, let's talk to some artists, let's talk to some fanfic writers, let's talk to some of the musicians about, what goes into this sort of thing, and let's talk about the history, like I said already, about, how this whole thing started, why the fandom is around to begin with. I mean, people say, why they like the show, but why did people discover the show? Why did people all of a sudden come together
And why are they
and
still
start?
why are they still part of it?
Yeah,
Other than the
and
show.
yeah, and there was a couple of little things I think it'd be interesting, like if they got people who possibly like left the fandom, like why did you leave, that sort of thing. But I think at the same time, because they had the idea for most of the filming, I think that it was going to be a BronyCon documentary. I think I get why they couldn't do that in a lot of cases, because it was like, well, we want to do a BronyCon thing, and then all of a sudden the focus kind of shifted. But that's something I kind of would have preferred more from this, would be, more of a general look at the fandom, and if we're going to try to empower or inform people about what bronies are about, I think it'd be better to cover all bases rather than partially cover some bases or not cover at all other things, and just kind of look into like kind of the emotional side for a lot of people, and then have them all go to BronyCon and have a good time. I would prefer, looks into other things, and so in that way, I think what the documentary set out to do, I think it did okay, but it didn't do enough, and it certainly didn't make it very entertaining. I think people who are watching this documentary who are not bronies are going to be just bored out of their minds
Yeah.
after the first couple like talking heads.
Note to self:
'Cause
do
it'll just
not
be
watch
like-
documentary.
Yeah, because I feel like it's going to be like, okay, I've already heard this.
Yeah.
Why do I need to hear this again and again? And, it's just...
If I recall, they actually mentioned they wanted like the fans to be able to show this to people, like, look, this is what it's all about. And it's like, if they intended that, that's not going to work.
I don't feel like, because I feel like the filmmakers are going to come off, if people... One of my fears with that is, like, people are going to, like, bronies are going to show this to people, like, non-bronies, people they want to show this. I feel like the non-bronies are going to feel like that this film was basically just made by bronies. And it was just, like, highlighting that, even though it wasn't, at least to my knowledge, Laurent and Michael are not bronies, but they're kind of honorary at this point, I suppose. But, like, I feel like it's going to be like, oh, you guys just made a film about yourselves. Good job. It just kind of felt like a kind of very congratulatory thing that it just didn't hit on all the points. And so I feel like if I was coming into this blindly, I'd still have a lot of questions. A lot of questions that were not answered.
Time for Bronies
And-
too.
Yeah, right. If they want to try it again, I mean, I'm sure you'll get some backing. You probably won't get as much backing as you did last time. But yeah. So I don't know. I feel like we've exhausted this topic at this point, and we've all kind of given our opinions here.
Yeah.
I mean, like the final verdict, it seems to be just like I mean, see it if you want, but like this could have been done better, I think, and I wish it had been done better, because I think a documentary about this fandom was going to come. It was just a matter of time, but I wish it wasn't as much like I said at the beginning. I wish it wasn't as much of a hug box as it is. Like I'm all for like positivity, but like I said, I think it just tipped the scale a little too much. It went too far that way. I would have liked for it to kind of rein it in a little bit and just kind of, show what's going on, show some other things maybe. I will say though that it is an interesting thing to watch if you know people who are at any of the cons, so you can look for them.
Yeah.
There were a couple different instances where I saw people from the Ohio group in the background. I was like, hey, or like one of the first guy they feature when they start talking about the people who are a little more outgoing. When they start talking about like the first guy they show is a guy I've met plenty of times in the Ohio group, and I'm like, oh yeah, duh, because he's very, very much that kind of person. That reminds me though, I have one last question here before we move on. The this isn't going to take very long here, but it will not never end. It's ongoing forever. We're just going to keep going. But the song that is sung by, or talked, whatever, by John Delancey, outlines that there are apparently 3 different types of bronies. There are the hipsters, the moderates, and the what are they called? The creatives? What's it called?
Creatives, I think.
I want to know, Funky, which
Hipster
do you
brony
think
all the
you
way.
fall into? Hipster brony all the way. Why do you think that?
No, like, I guess I'm more of a moderate because, like, wait, well, which was with the creatives again? I thought it was another one that wasn't that.
Oh, and then there's the females, but I guess they're technically lumped into the.
I think those are just
it's
3.
great. Yeah, I think it was just that they were called creatives, weren't they?
Yeah, something like that. It's like creatives.
It's something along those lines. Yeah.
Because I guess I'm more of a just moderate. I mean, I just watched the show when it airs, and I haven't rewatched an episode in a long time, not since like season 2. Like midway through season 2, I think I may have rewatched 1 or 2 new episodes, and aside from that, I just kind of the only contribution to the community or anything I do with the community is just following some of the fan artists and contributing to the fan art every now and then, but that's about it. Like, so I guess I'll technically just be a moderate, just kind of there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Nemesis, what do you think?
I'd say mostly a moderate, but because technically creative, I guess creative is more than just art, music, and fanfics. Because we're creating a podcast, so I guess we're got a little bit dabbling of creative.
Oh
so
yeah, well,
a little dabbling. Yeah. So yeah, but definitely mostly moderate.
A little bit of dabbling. Art, what kind are you?
none of the above.
I guess I'd be creative because I made the theme song to the podcast. Yeah, God, these sound like positions at the Apple Store because we have creatives and. No, I'm dead serious.
It turns out everybody at the Apple Store, you're either a creative, a hipster, or a moderate.
More actually,
Like,
you'd be very surprised how accurate you are.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure that actually fits it pretty well.
Yeah. God. Yeah, but no, I'd classify myself as creative. Because we're doing this podcast, and I make music. I made the music for this, which I guess could be classified as fandom music somehow.
And you supposedly wrote a fanfic.
No,
we still haven't seen it.
It exists. It's on my computer. I just have.
It doesn't exist.
Okay. Challenge accepted. Tune in next week.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, sure. I guess people call me especially in this fandom, especially at the meetup groups, people call me a hipster anyway, so I guess I'm a hipster. I don't know.
Ew, get away.
I mean, yeah, I mean, literally, people
We're all gonna
at
catch
like
it now.
meetups people at the meetups all the time are just like, "You're such a hipster." I'm just like, "What? Is it because of my flannel and my hats, and because I drink a lot of craft beer and smoke cigarettes?"
Yes.
In which case, fine, okay, but I guess I wear scarves too. God, I guess I am. Whatever.
God damn.
Move
But,
to Portland already, God.
I know, yeah. But I guess that's how I identify. I mean, I kind of gravitate toward those kind of people in the fandom anyway. I tend to, at least, the kind of people who are like kind of more that variety. So I guess it's whatever. Anyway, I guess we'll stop talking about the documentary now.
Finally.
The verdict is go see it. Maybe get your own opinion, see what you think. Maybe you'll love it.
I'll
I've
just
heard
say
people
this.
say this.
One last thing. I'll just say that I think if I actually wound up paying for or backing it as the Kickstarter, I'd probably be angrier. But as right now, it's just meh.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10, maybe a 4. I'll give it a 4.
Funky out of 10.
Potato out of 10 would not watch it.
Potato would not potato again.
Would you still regret backing it, Nemesis, if you paid like the 10,000 one to go meet Tara Strong?
Oh.
Oh dear,
Oh.
that's a dilemma.
Oh.
It's like, I got to meet Tara Strong, but then again, I dropped $10,000 on this.
Don't worry, Don't worry, Nemesis. If you didn't want to meet, if you felt uncomfortable about it, I would just go meet Tara Strong for you. That's okay.
Whoa.
He would go meet Tara Strong and then just like kill himself because he was like, wait, I just spent $10,000.
Well, that's what I mean.
I don't know
Nemesis.
what it was, but it was
Nemesis can go spend the 10,000, and I'll go meet Tara Strong for him.
How about no?
I wish I had $10,000. Just
I think you have lunch with her, so it's like, or something like that.
Someone dropped 10,000 on the
She's all the
Homestuck
way across.
Kickstarter. That was ridiculous.
Some people have a lot of money. It's just
Yeah.
like good for them. I'm glad they're doing good in life.
So I guess
All
eventually
right. Well,
we'll
I
talk
guess
about Homestuck documentary when it comes out.
yes, we will.
Actually, it's a
Okay,
video game
good-
that's coming
good-
out.
Even
It's
worse.
a good
That's gonna be a
crossover.
documentary as well.
So I guess we'll talk about some fan content rather now.
Yay.
And as we usually do, we'll start with the fanfic of the week that Nemesis has prepared for us.
Yeah, for real.
What you got for us, bro?
Well, I got something. It's a little bit become a bit of a cliche in the last almost year, I guess, but still, it's called Hybrids, and it's by Bach. And well, it basically, hey, surprise, it stars Twilight, but for real surprise, it also has Rarity. And basically, it's if you've ever seen the Jeff Goldblum version of The Fly, it's kind of like that setup, except not as terrifying, because there's no Jeff Goldblum.
And no face is melting off.
Tayo.
Yeah, no,
Twilight
no.
will be played by Jeff Goldblum.
Oh. But yeah, basically what happens is they're in Camelot, they're in the library because Twilight wants to be in the library, and it's like this library museum thing, and they find a really, really, really old like mummified changeling wing, which is like, that means we've encountered changeling before. And then there's a fire, and Twilight needs to teleport them out, and she teleports out and didn't realize he teleported them with the wing, and basically now we got DNA combining, and they're slowly turning into changelings. And we also get now, and I don't want to get too far into it because it actually progresses pretty quick. But then there's stuff like we find out there's actually changelings already in Camelot. One of them there's actually a kind of a traitor. We got Zakor is looking for them, and the Cutie Mark Crusaders are looking for them. The changelings are looking for them, and things are getting progressively worse because they're slowly turning into changelings, and it's starting to affect them. Like,
Does
now
Twilight break someone's leg in a hoof wrestling contest?
No.
Or puke
But
acid?
She does get at one point very, very focused on feeding.
On love.
Yeah,
Nom nom.
pretty much. So yeah, it's pretty interesting so far. Actually, it's actually a weird coincidence. Apparently, it's being written by the friend of the person who wrote the last fanfic I mentioned, which was 350. So, which actually has now had 2 chapters, which kind of had a little cameo appearance by this fic, which makes sense in context. Trust me.
Wait, so it's also affecting Rarity as well, or is it just Twilight?
Both of them.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I'm just kind of interested in where it's going. The only problem I have personally right now is that there's an OC involved, and that was that changeling trader I mentioned, and I'm just kind of like worried. I'm like, please don't become too focused on this guy. Please don't. Other than that, though, yeah, I recommend checking it out.
Yeah, really interesting concept. That's something that you don't. It's not human in Equestria, so good.
Yes.
So
The
it's already
only
got
thing
something
is the
going
cliche
for us.
is a lot of people so many people have done main 6 as changelings now. It's like, yeah, but this is not one of the few times you've done it like this. It's usually an instant transformation, or they've always been them one their whole life or something. So
Yeah,
Has there
Right.
been one about Spike being a changeling?
not really.
that's the big.
Well, there you
twist.
go. There's some content for you.
Oh boy.
All right, well, that's the fanfic for the week. I guess we'll move on to music. I've got 4 songs for you this week, but I won't talk too long about them. Just kind of speed on through them. If you know me, if you listen to this podcast often, that is, you'll know there's a lot of orchestral stuff coming up because I tend to believe that that's generally the best part of the fandom's music output. But I guess I'm also not too into like remixes. Unless you're doing something really cool. At any rate, though, the first song is actually a vocal track by Fenning, and it's called Do the Pony.
They're in the street, you can see them walking everywhere. Everybody do the pony. Down on the beat, they can drop a hoof without a care. Everybody do the pony. You'll never get closer when all you do is try to hate away. You can't stand to see them. But when they walk, they set your heart into a flame. And all they do is taunt you. You say that you will never fall into the sway. Every pony, find a pony, find a beat and dance.
Very interesting tune, and what really caught me is that it's very catchy. I feel like, especially in the chorus. So that's definitely what got me, and it's kind of half sung, half kind of rap sometimes. So if you're into that, and kind of some electro rock type of genre, definitely check it out. It's a very solid entry into Fenning's canon, which there's quite a bit of songs done by that artist out there. A lot of it's very good. This is probably my favorite though so far that Fenning's put out.
I've seen him perform live.
Have you?
Yeah, he was at Everfree Northwest last year. So
Imagine that.
Yeah. I guess he does go to a lot. I think he's at Las Vegas too. So. But yeah, so that's called Do the Pony. The second song I chose this week is called Harmony, and it's by Crazy Oatmeal 3. This song I chose is an orchestral here, and I chose this one because I thought it was a very pleasant little tune. It's about 7 minutes long, and it doesn't really change it up much. It's kind of about the same thing for most of the time. It's a very pretty song, and it's kind of about the whole harmony of the elements for harmony, and them combining together and all that sort of thing. And really does, like I said, it doesn't really do too much, but it's still very nice. It's good, just kind of listen to, and it's very relaxing.
Yeah, it's
as well.
very soothing.
And that's something that I can't really say for the other 2 songs that I'm about to talk about. So I guess there's that. But yeah, definitely check that one out. That seems to have gotten a lot of rave reviews on its YouTube page at least. So yeah,
top 100
that's a
of the
new
Billboard.
artist also. Yes, and that's a new artist that we haven't featured yet. I guess Fenning the same way. So wanted to try to get some new blood into here before we go into our last 2 songs, which are by artists that we've already featured. The first one is Of Greater Horizons, and it's by Kyogre. And many of you, if you've been listening for a while, know that I'm very into this artist. A lot of really cool stuff. Of Greater Horizons is very interesting. It's a very much a percussion-driven song. There's a lot of stuff going on underneath it, but what really stood out to me with the song was the percussion, and it's very tribal and very interesting. It's very warlike as well, and so if you're kind of into very kind of high energy, high stakes, I suppose, music, this is definitely a song for you, and especially if you're really into like percussive noises and that sort of thing. So definitely check that one out. I'd say very cool instrumental in the sense that you don't really get many instrumentals in this fandom like it. Stuff that's very very percussive and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's Of Greater Horizon. That's by Kyogre, and the final song of the week is a song entitled Changeling Anthem, and it's by Carbon Maestro. From the Pony Empire's saga, I guess you would call it. And this song is another song that has a lot of really cool percussion going on it, but there's other stuff going on too that I really enjoy. It's very much an industrial type of orchestral. It's got a lot of really cool, just when I say industrial, I kind of you kind of tend to think of like industrial rock, and there's a lot of artists out there kind of like Nine Inch Nails, stuff like that kind of do that sort of thing. And it's not so much in that regard. It's kind of more like a steampunky type thing. What Carbon Maestro's done here, or Carbon Maestro, not Maestro, Maestro, but Maestro. I don't know where that one came from. But Carbon Maestro did here. But very cool song, and as the title suggests, it's about the changeling army. Kind of that whole idea is of them kind of going off into battle, and it really does a really cool kind of background to that, and especially kind of toward the end, it really starts hyping up and getting faster, not super fast, but like slightly faster, and you kind of feel the tension building, and just kind of ends very abruptly. But it's a very, very interesting song. Honestly, I think I've only listened to it a few times here, but I think it's slowly becoming one of my more favorite orchestrals from this fandom so far. And I've listened to quite a few, so I hold this song in very high regard. Yeah, that's 4 songs for you this week. Four songs from 4-string. Hope you have a good Tim listening to them.
I cry every time. But I think Changing Anthem's also probably my favorite from this week. Because I really enjoyed that one. The other ones were good. But not to say those were bad, but I really enjoyed those. But I think Changing Anthem was definitely my favorite out of this week's selection.
Actually, okay. I'm surprised. I actually kind of like them all, but one thing I want to say is Of Greater Horizons, the Kyogre song in particular, it reminded me of Mass Effect. This music did. It's like just the way it began. Everything was reminding me of the Mass Effect soundtrack. I'm not sure if Funky feels the same way at all.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, the last 3 in particular though, I really, really enjoyed. So.
Okay, super radio. Well, I suppose that brings us to the end of the podcast for the week, and surprised we only went about an hour and 20 minutes. We didn't go as long as I kind of expected, because I kind of expected us to talk about the documentary maybe a little longer, but I think we hit the good points. So
exactly.
And if we didn't, feel free to let us know somehow. But we'll actually let you know here in a second how to contact us. But yeah, again, thank you for listening very much to Pony401 episode 24. You can find us on a variety of websites if you want to get in contact with us or follow along with us to figure out, when new episodes are being aired and that sort of thing. Pony411.libsyn.com is the direct page to download from, but you can also go to iTunes and just put in Pony411 and hey, look, there's all our episodes. It's a great time. youtube.com/pony401 is where you can find us on YouTube. So if you want to see like a video, which isn't really a video, it's more just our logo looking back at you. But I guess it's easier to comment there with your fellow peers or something. So that's the thing. You can upvote us. I don't know, whatever. But beyond that, social media wise, facebook.com/pony411, twitter.com/pony411. That's where you can find us. We're also all on Twitter here. I'm at 4stringmlp. Then you've got Nemesis Prime 1, the number 1, not spelled out, Lord Funky Fist, and ArtFan88. You can also find us all on Facebook, but I don't think we'll give our... Unless you can find us. If you can find us, then okay, cool.
If you can find us, you deserve to be our friend on Facebook.
You're our...
You can go
that's right.
follow Nemesis on Twitter and see all his alicorn Twilight stuff he's talking about. But more and more on that in the upcoming episodes.
Soon.
That's right. Yeah, that'll be coming. But speaking of soon, coming up next week, we obviously don't have an episode, but what we will have is an interview with Eric from Journey of the Spark. It's a fan-made My Little Pony film that's supposed to be released next year. We're talking to him. Actually, not we. ArtFan
Yes, my first interview.
is doing the talking on this one, and boy, it's a long one. So get your tea and crumpets out and hunker down for a good long talk about all kinds of things. Art, what can we expect from this? Actually, you let us know.
Well, basically, what you can expect is we spoke a lot about the movie. You're going to hear some updates about the production. You're going to hear some interesting casting information, and you're really going to get a nice in-depth look at how this came to be, and why he's making it. He's a really cool guy to talk to. He's very open, very passionate. So I think anybody with a passion for film at all out there that's listening will appreciate what he has to say. And I think despite its length, it was a fun interview. So,
and you're actually engaged now with him.
not well. He's a nice guy, but
friendly.
He's not that friendly.
You wouldn't go that far just yet. Not until he lets you do a voice in the. In fact, I hope you asked him like, hey, can I do a voice in your? I have plenty of things I could say.
Can I do an Arnold Schwarzenegger pony in your movie?
Yeah, I was gonna say you could do an Arnold Schwarzenegger, a New York pony.
Twilight, where are you going?
You could be Babseed better than Babseed can.
Oh,
He'll actually sound slightly New York.
You could be Babseed's brother,
Oh,
Babseed's long lost brother.
or like his dad or her dad.
There you go. So be on the lookout for that next week, and you can probably be on the lookout for. We'll talk about something else, I'm sure. But in the meantime, also I forgot to mention pony411podcast@gmail.com is our email. If you have any news tips or you want to be like Eric was and actually just email us and see if we want to do an interview, and usually we'll be like, oh, okay. So if you ever want to do that, our door's always open. I suppose. I don't know.
all our stuff has been stolen.
Yeah, that's because that's the problem. But
I keep telling you guys to lock the door.
but we keep saying our door's always open. What kind of people would we be if our door wasn't actually open when we say it is?
We have an open door policy. Come on, we can't back out on that.
I can't beat that. All right, well, I guess that's it for this week. Good night, Michelle.
Good night, everybody. And everyone, please pony responsibly.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Sure, why
We
not?
should do that.
We'll try it, guys.
First song is actually a vocal track by a Fenning, and it's called "Do the Pony."
Not like that.
And yeah, don't actually do the pony, children. That's frowned upon.
You
in
gotta
most
pony
societies.
responsibly and not do the
It's
pony.
It's illegal in most states.
You have to do the pony,
Yes.
but not do the pony.
Wasn't Mr. Hands from Washington, Nemesis?
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, eat him, Claw.